It doesn't go all the way up.
Oh, it doesn't? Okay.
Let's see if they have it. I don't think they have an extension cord.
Will it fit here?
So it doesn't fit up here with the plug on, but check this out. It's right down here. So you can use it there for the moment, and hopefully then when you need it, you can just, and then,
That's weird, because now it's saying charging 96%.
okay, so
This
maybe,
means that it's working, but I don't know what's happening with it. I think the button is...
Oh,
okay, the light just came on. I just saw the light come on.
Working. All right. Okay.
Well, I guess just let it.
But the problem is I need to, because I need to, look at the...
Can you do that while it's on the charger?
Yeah, but I have to stay here.
Well, for now. I mean, you can get it set up there.
It's working now, so I'll take it.
It's not gonna die on you, though, is it?
No.
I wonder if we do have an extension.
No,
You know what?
No, it's okay.
No, but we might.
It's okay. It's
Because
okay.
you've
It's working.
unplugged it now.
It's working.
I think usually once it starts working, it continues to work. It's just there's problems turning it on sometimes.
Oh, okay.
Is that right?
Just, yeah, it's just the button. The button.
okay.
The button here has a problem. Okay, it's working.
Okay.
Don't worry. Relax.
Keep that charger.
Keep
here
the
for
charger
now.
Stool.
And where does?
What do you want?
Where does he sit?
Right over there, unless it makes more sense for us to sit over here. Oh, right over there, like, that chair may be the best place.
Somebody rings the bell or something? All right. Welcome to Community Unitarian Universalist Congregation at White Plains. We gather in the light of four truths. It is a blessing you were born. It matters what you do. Your experience of the divine is true, and important reminder, you don't have to go it on alone. If you are visiting us for the first time online this morning, please take a moment to click the link in the chat and fill out the visitor form and let us know how you'd like to be connected. If you are new and visiting in person, we invite you to stop by the welcome table and say hello. Later in the service, we will share the joys and sorrows of our individual lives. For those here in person, please take a moment to add yours to the book by the south windows. For those on Zoom, please type yours in the chat.
Our opening words today come from Sherry Michelle Wahana Hamu Kwaset. When we connect with our ancestors and put their wisdom into action, we are evolving our collective consciousness. We are transporting the ancient truths of our collective past and birthing them into our future. What we create out of those truths extends the wisdom of all those who have gone before us, and it provides a guide for all those who will follow. We light our chalice in honor of all whose history we honor and whose future we anticipate. Come, let us worship together, and let us sing together.
Good morning. I invite you to rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn, number 1018 in your teal hymnal, Come and Go With Me. Come and go with me that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that Please be seated.
Today is the first Sunday of Black History Month, and Tracy and I thought it made sense for our wisdom story to come from two young Black women. I invite you to enjoy this video.
It's one thing when Black people aren't discussed in world history. But when, even in the imaginary future, a space where the mind can stretch beyond the Milky Way to envision routine space travel, cuddly space animals, talking apes, and time machines, people can't fathom a person of non-Euro descent 100 years into the future. A cosmic foot has to be put down. Yatasha L. Womack. In my dream last night, it was the year 2120. In my dream last night, it seemed like my face did persevere across time in my dream. In my dream last night, there was a girl with my great-grandmother's face. In my dream last night, there was a girl rolling her hips along the skyline. In my dream, I traveled through time and I knew all the faces but didn't. My bloodline was remaking its way onto a series of girl children in chrome. Their bodies, a spiritual technology, they looked upon my old, my weary, my ghost. They looked upon my grief and said, please, please, why are you so sad?
Here is a little known fact. There are Black people in the future.
There are Black people in the future.
There are Black people in the future.
In the future, Black people are living,
dancing,
singing an unfamiliar song.
In the future, there are Black people.
Did you know there were Black people in the future?
Did you? Did you know there were Black people in the future?
Did you know Black people had a future?
What do you know about Black people in the future?
Here is what I need you to know. Black people, we do survive.
By magic or manual.
By spirit or our own fly technology.
We do make it to the future. Black girl, who you know is an Afrofuturist?
My grandma was an Afrofuturist. At New Life Baptist, they called her prophetess, but a label is a. Anyway, one day the grief gripped me fiercer than a braider's hands. I was laid out with my cheek against her tile. Butterflies are for hoping, so it was gutter rats in my stomach swarming. I was on the floor and I could see she was sad for me, but not worried. She just started singing, praying, singing her prayers and shouting things about me. Ajane will live. Ajane will be light. Will break a chain in the shape of a curse off the family, and generations will come from her, whole and holy and high on the flex and stank of their own blood. Ajane will be a miracle, and if that ain't an Afrofuturist, I don't know what is.
We carry our great-grandmother's prayers, love letters in our breast pockets. They saw fit to will us into the future. Black girls are free and colorful. Our language still sounds like clicking tongues, like smacking gums. They can hear us now. We made ourselves over and over again. God knew we could time travel, and we did. Canvassing the streets with Blackness, running through galaxies like we ought to be there. The future continues with Black girls in it. We thrive there.
We thrive there.
Black girl, what happens in the future?
Folks keep talking about technology, but I think we're the technology. I think we still hopscotch and double dutch in the future. I think we find new ways to make what the earth gives us taste good. I think the braiders figure out how to stop that tension on our scalp. I think our feet make their own light so we can dance in the street at night in the future. I think our skin grows gold razors when a man raised his tongue up disrespectful. And I think eventually they stop raising up their tongues that way. And the gold razors peeling out our skin become soft and feather-like. I think in the future we fly.
When I say I'm an Afrofuturist, I say yes to Black bodies living beyond a horizon I can see. We've always dreamed of tomorrow, of existing transformed. Did you know that Black people live in the future? That 2120 is just past my eyelids.
We imagine this like Sun Ra, like Outcasts. We made to liberatory songs singing of how our world has become a reflection of our bodies, of our truths.
In the future, we create otherworldly things. Blackness is skin and steel. Didn't you know that Black people live in the future? We thrive there, and the revolution is realized. We did not negotiate our freedom this time.
Sun-kissed, joyous, ain't it marveling to be in a world unlike our past lives? Our foremothers imagined us on bended knee, crying out.
My grandmother cried once, told me in our native tongue that I am blessed, and that was her last breath.
I am an Afrofuturist because my mothers first were. They spoke of lives without the restriction of men full of self.
In the future, Black girls are unashamed to be world center, all coiled and familiar.
Black girl, what happens in the future?
They often say we'll be on a spaceship, recreating a world that we have destroyed. I imagine the flowers still grow, planted behind ears like school days. The innocence never leaves us. We skip, we play and twerk and drink in the same body. We grow gray when wise women say parables that become prophecies. The soil burns rust and we still dancing. Our feet spark fires that keep our children warm. Black girl, what happens in the future?
Octavia Butler thinks that in the future, the apocalypse does come for us and we make our own way and religion.
Eve Ewing sees Black people as magic and technology in the now. In the past, she sees what could have been.
Denez Smith thinks those gold teeth in our mouths become seeds we'll grow our boys from.
Janelle Monáe etched Black bodies in titanium. She dreamed of no suffering in the future.
Basquiat archived a memory of ancestral traditions. He made us immortal.
Erykah Badu calls back to the ancestors and brings them on the spaceship with her.
Missy Elliott thinks we're so fly that Black people will levitate into another dimension.
TLC scrubs our filth clean and dreams of us being in the driver's seat.
Tao Lewis, with his sculptures, wonders about the souls that didn't make the boat voyage here and the world they've built under the sea. Black girl, what happens in the future?
Well, I think in the future, all this talk about fast-tailed girls is going to mean something different. Like in 2120, when they say Black girl is fast, they mean her feet move so fast she jumps dimensions.
You know how they say the atmosphere is changing because of global warming. I think in the future, the veil is going to be so thin we'll be able to see our ancestors.
Imagine how fresh the styles in the future probably are. I think in the future, at the beauty shop, they braiding all kinds of stuff into our hair, gold and song and ghost and dream. Like, please, imagine a nigga dripping music down their back.
I don't even think we're on this planet in the future. We're probably somewhere like Mars, building with the aliens. We probably grow another tongue just to talk to them.
What do you think Black people are doing in the future?
Everything, anything. I don't know, but we there. We there.
Please join me in singing the children's blessing to sing the children out to their religious education classes. May your mind be open to new learning. May your lips bring truth into the world. May your heart know love and your hands do the work of justice as you go your way in peace. As you go your way in peace.
Let us enter into a time of prayer meditation, holding each other in the love and care of this community. We share especially those joys and sorrows from those among us. Ted Dreyer says he and Karen celebrated our granddaughter's, Brielle's 1-year birthday yesterday. What a great day for the family. A joy and a thank you to all who supported the NAACP and became members. We pray for the recovery of Per Ann Holland, who is in the hospital. We also ask that you think of Ted Kaczynski as he recovers from a fall and surgery. There is a card at the fireside we invite you to sign. Positive thoughts for our dear friend Mary as she faces yet another surgery to remove cancer from her nose, and she faces reconstructive surgery. Folks, please take heed of the sun and wear sunblock religiously. That from Joan. We are also grateful for what was discovered walking with friends on our path, which connected at day and place yesterday. That from Bice. Let me see if there's anything online. There isn't, but I know that our friends online share these joys. And let us remember that there are always joys and sorrows that go unspoken for many reasons, and we are not alone as we hold one another in our hearts. We continue our prayers with these words from Alicia Ford. When we pause to remember who we are, companions on this grand experiment called life, when we take a moment to shed the ways we have been carefully taught to lead from fear, to punish the poor, to persecute those who don't look like we do, to not deny rights to those we love, to believe that we are separate, that some people are superior to others. When we take a moment to shed all of that and hear our stories, hear and see each other into existence, into community, when we take a moment to embrace, to practice a different way of being, when we answer the call of love, then we are living into the promise of building the world we dream about. It is beautiful to dream, to cast a vision, to stretch our minds into the future and imagine what may be if we were to build a new way of being, not someday, but beginning again today, beginning again every day as we have breath, taking courage with these hands and hearts to make real the dream of a more equitable world, to journey together, seeking to be transformed even as we transform, becoming explorers and learners in this world around us, humbled but what we do not yet know, fulfilling the promise of healing a fragmented world, laboring not just in hope, but also in love. In this spirit, we commit. In this spirit, we gather. In this spirit, we pray. In this spirit, we make space for our souls in this moment of silence.
Each month, we share our offering with organizations in our community who are aligned with our values. This month, we are lending our support to Transportation Resources and Access, or TRA. I now invite Norm Handelman to share more about TRA. Norm.
Morning. I finally made it to prime time. Well, hope I'm ready. Okay. TRA, Transportation Resources and Access, is an organization whose primary mission is to provide older adults and adults with low vision with free rides to medical appointments. TRA also provides information and resources, such as how to access a food pantry and how to apply for affordable housing. During COVID, when some volunteer drivers did not drive, TRA, then known as West Fair Rides, got funds to hire paid drivers so it could continue to satisfy all ride requests and provide free medical transportation for our riders. Also during COVID, West Fair Rides delivered groceries and made what we called reassurance phone calls to ensure that our riders were doing okay and that everything they needed, including information about resources that provided food, water, and medication deliveries in Westchester. Now, the growing demand for medical transportation in Westchester and TRA's excellent reputation for driver courtesy and punctuality have led to our highest ridership ever. And TRA is working hard to respond, including getting funds for company cars and paid drivers. In the years since the founding of West Fair Rides, in response to the premise that the people most in need of medical attention in Westchester are the people who are least able to get to it, West Fair and now TRA have helped to make our riders feel cared for and safe, and help to provide a nurturing and vibrant quality of life for seniors in Westchester. On a personal note, I first discovered West Fair Rides at a CUUC coffee hour about 8 years ago. So thank you again, CUUC.
Thank you. The offering now will be taken. Please give generously.
Good morning, everybody. The embrace and incorporation of traditionally African American musical idioms into so-called classical music of the West points the way to a future of societal integration and diversity. This work I'm about to play by the French composer Claude Debussy is a good example, as it appropriates music from American vaudeville and ragtime and seems to thumb its nose at Eurocentrism. Quick music history digression. When Debussy would have been a music student, the music world was all abuzz about what was referred to as the Tristan chord. It was the first harmony in Wagner's opera, Tristan and Isolde, which starts. That's it. So see if you can hear what Gollywog has to say about that sacred cow of European classical music.
Future and futurism, two terms that we hear about, we talk about, and we watch lots of media stuff about. Two terms that are loaded with meanings that we know and some that we don't. Future and futurism can reflect or can mean tomorrow, can mean progress, can mean hope, but they also can mean uncertainty, something that is still unknown to us. We don't know, as we hear a lot, what the future is hiding for us. Many decades, media has been showing us lots of images about what the future can be like. Technology, invading space, Star Wars. Technology that's now everything in our life that we cannot live without. And the pandemic that we lived for 4 years and we are still suffering from showed us how technology can help us being independent and having access to everything while we are at home. But also, media in addition to technology, showed us lots of images that contain lots of negative meanings, prejudices, discrimination, negative images of people of color, particularly black people. Is this what we are going to continue to see in the future? Is this what we are going to experience in the future? A person of color myself, I think about this a lot, what the future is hiding for me and for people like me who are of color, particularly black people. When we talk about future, we should think of the past and what we have prepared for the future. With technology that we enjoy nowadays, that offer us access to information, services, products, connection with others, social media, and whatnot. Now, we also brag about technology offering us the opportunity of being independent, that we don't need to rely on others. This concept scares me and make me think of how communities are going to look like in the future. Are we going to continue relying on technology to the extent that we would become self-indulgent and we just keep talking or practicing independence to the extent that we would forget about those who won't have access to technology, who won't have access to or won't be able to afford technology? That technology can also be a source of danger and risk, invading privacy, and also exposing people to the unknown. When we think about the future, I hope that we continue to think about community and others who cannot afford technology and might not be able to afford being in the future without experiencing discrimination and prejudices, particularly black people. Thank you.
When I was in seminary, the singer and scholar Kim Harris told us of an old folk tale about how Africans in ancient times could fly like birds, and that even in the days of slavery, some retained that power. They would walk up on the air like climbing up a gate. And they flew like blackbirds over the fields, their black, shiny wings flapping against the blue, blue sky. And every now and then, in the fields, when the work and the foreman got too brutal, a person would trip and begin to laugh and look up and leap into the sky and fly away, never to be seen again. Now, at the time, I understood the story that Kim told us specifically as a tale of escaping slavery. And that made sense as she was teaching us about spirituals, about the deep, bittersweet roots of the minor tones that this music evokes, this music that emerged when enslaved Africans played their banjos and Scots-Irish immigrants joined in with their fiddles. About the ways of understanding the Bible stories that they were told have found their way into the lyrics, the River Jordan, Jacob's Ladder, Moses, the Promised Land, and about the deep sorrow and pain expressed. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen, and the hope for a better future. Glory, hallelujah. About the signal songs and the map songs that pointed the way to freedom via the Underground Railroad. Follow the drinking gourd. Now, what I didn't realize is that Kim wasn't just teaching us about the past. She was teaching us about the future. Now, we've already heard a lot about the future and futurism. And many thanks to Muhammad, we have some important questions for us to consider. Namely, can we imagine a future that does not include discrimination? Can we imagine a future where everyone actually participates? Can we imagine a future where we actually take care of each other? And how can technology help us, all of us, face the future together? For many of us, thinking about the future sends us hurtling toward a dystopian landscape of apocalyptic destruction. To imagine a positive future seems pure fantasy, like science fiction. And many of us put it in a box, or on the box, as it were, and maybe do some cosplay and go to events and even hold congregational auctions looking at the future. And then we put the books and the costumes away, and we turn off the TV, and we don't think a lot more about it. Well, that's true for some of us anyway. But then we heard the young poets in our wisdom story say, we carry our great-grandmother's prayers. They saw fit to will us into the future. And that parables become prophecies and tell us of the artists that affirm in their music and books that Black people exist in the future. Now, as a middle-aged white woman, I deeply underestimated how important that assertion has been for centuries, and how many ways that assertion has been on display in music, art, film, literature, hidden, as it were, in plain sight. Now, as most of you know, I live just outside of Washington, D.C. The National Mall is about a 20 or so minute drive away, depending on traffic. And that means that the museums of the Smithsonian Institution, which remain free, by the way, are easily accessible. Now, one day, last summer, I visited the National Museum of African American History and Culture. When I got in, I saw a sign pointing to a special exhibition on Afrofuturism. And I thought, that could be cool. So I went in. Now, I didn't really know what Afrofuturism was, but I was willing to learn. What I saw led to my repeating two phrases over and over. I had no idea, and that'll preach, over and over again. I learned that while the term Afrofuturism was only coined in 1994 by Mark Derry, Afrofuturism as a concept had existed for centuries. You see futurism emerge in the writings from Black people as early as the mid-1700s. And you see it echoed through the Civil War writings and even into the early 20th century with W.E.B. Du Bois's short story, The Comet, and Aaron Douglas's covers for the Crisis magazine, and the publication of Ralph Ellison's book, The Invisible Man. But rather than just describing the world as it is, exhibit curator Kevin Strait points out that Afrofuturism is a counterpoint to African American representation in media that has featured them as others, aliens, or background figures embodied in racist stereotypes. So Afrofuturism then becomes a way of looking at the world. As filmmaker and scholar Ytasha Womack notes, it is not just an aesthetic, it is an assertion of being and a way of knowing. So when I say I repeated, I had no idea, I mean that I had no idea that this assertion was being reflected just out of my reach in the very media I had been happily consuming. I had no idea that Prince's song 1999 was Afrofuturism. That Earth, Wind & Fire's amazing music and very way of being was Afrofuturism. Or George Clinton and Parliament Funkadelic, who said of his famous mothership, I had to find a place where they hadn't perceived Black people to be, and that was on a spaceship. And I really didn't understand that the very existence of Lieutenant Uhura, a character from Star Trek who was Black, who spoke Swahili, and was a woman, was Afrofuturism. I wandered through that exhibit, seeing so many representations of Afrofuturism. Patti LaBelle, Outkast, Herbie Hancock, Grace Jones, Jimi Hendrix, Sun Ra, Michelle Indigocello, the band Living Colour, who identify themselves, I love this, as part punk, part metal, part funk, and part free. And more recently, Janelle Monáe, who created the fictional android Cindy Mayweather as the ghost in the machine, or the fugitive in the machine, defying authority, often by dancing. All of these musical artists I have loved, or at the very least appreciated. And I had no idea that underneath the futurist, colorful, African-inspired aesthetic was the simple message that Black people exist in the future, and that the future is joyful, and as poet Toy Derricott reminds us, that joy is an act of resistance. And that's just the music. Afrofuturism is in literature from writers such as Octavia Butler, Samuel Delany, and N.K. Jemisin. It's costume design, such as Grace Jones's out-of-this-world looks and Beyonce's invoking the Ifa Orisha Oshun. It's comics and graphic novels like Luke Cage, and superheroes on the silver screen like Black Panther. And it's telling the real stories of those who work in science and technology and point us toward the future, especially the women, the Black women who do this, like the story of mathematician Katherine Johnson and the book and movie Hidden Figures. All of these and more, not just futuristic, but a particular kind of futuristic. As Womack writes, it connects us It connects to us through radiating lines of liberation, mysticism, imagination, and technology, and invokes freedom from walled-in spaces and from tightly wound time, and instead espouses notions of escape, egress, return, and reformation. Afrofuturism isn't just an escape from or even just an escape to. It is a kind of futurism that looks backward to go forward. Now, the central symbol of Afrofuturism is this Sankofa bird, promoting the kinds of questions we should all be asking. What do we leave behind, and what do we bring forward? What pre-slavery, pre-colonial practices are best suited to new futures? What lessons from collective Black experiences should be preserved and exalted? What insights help us maintain a healthy relationship with our bodies, our communities, our worlds? What ideas did our ancestors want us to have, and why? We are, after all, our grandmother's prayers and our grandfather's dreamings. Not dreams of the past, but hopes for the future. So we talk a lot about the past in our anti-racism work, and with good reason. So much of the past, and certainly our nation's past, has been literally whitewashed, and it's troubling and hard to face. It matters that we understand the past. And it also matters that we understand that Black Lives Matter doesn't emerge out of nowhere, and that we see how we got there. I didn't write this in the sermon, but I remember turning the corner and seeing a huge Black Lives Matter sign on one of the walls. I was like, oh, that's Afrofuturism, writ large. Outside of the White House on the street, there is literally Black Lives Matter Plaza now. Right there, hidden in plain sight. I've been having a moment with this. But this can't be the end of it. Science fiction author N.K. Jemisin pondered this question about the past in her 2013 essay, How Long Till Black Future Month, which inspired the title of this service. She writes that everyone jokes that, of course, Black history gets celebrated only during the shortest month of the year. No one seems puzzled by the fact that there is no time correspondingly devoted to examining, celebrating, or imagining the Black future. So here we are. Now, we got a little glimpse of it last month. Well, our service on Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, which, thank God for Tracy, Eileen, and the racial justice team for taking over when I was ill. That service focused on the stories of those enslaved, imagined but based in reality. But those stories that you heard look not just at the past or the harshness of their reality, but also looked at those dreams, the dreams of those who would become our ancestors. We noted in that service last month that we can't stop at the stories of trauma if we're to truly know each other and work together for our collective liberation. That we have to celebrate the joys and hopes and lived experiences too, to include everyone's whole selves. Afrofuturism reminds us that there is more, that there is a future, and it has an amazing soundtrack. Now, I want to be clear. I am just beginning to learn about Afrofuturism, and even on my second visit to the exhibit last week, I realized how little I know. There are certainly more questions than answers. And in that second visit, I had the realization that there is much of Afrofuturism that isn't for me. And the things that I will never understand as a white woman, and that's okay. It's more than okay. What I do know is that Afrofuturism is part of the tapestry that began with those spirituals, sorrow and joy woven fine, a stubborn hope that persists. It persisted through the spirituals and jazz and the blues and Motown and into funk and R&B and hip hop, and yes, even disco. It persists through short stories and graphic novels and movies. It persists in the simple assertions that Black lives matter and that Black people exist in the future. Because in the future, there is hope. And it will be beautiful and colorful and joyful and a place where the people can fly. So, let us rise and sing together Esay Barnwell's Ode to the Future. Number 1051, We Are.
Who we are. On each time a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are the Father's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and workers of faith. We are believers of peace and the wisdom of angels. We are the grandfather's prayers, and we are the grandfather's dreamings. We are the brothers of ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For our mothers of rivers and brothers of time. We are daughters of dust and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of angels. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the death of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are.
You may be seated, but let us bless each other in our responsive benediction by Edna O'Danner. In what world are you powerful?
In this world, we will have power together.
In what world do you act on knowledge and truth?
In this world, we can learn and move toward justice together.
In what world do you hold your values in the face of what scares you?
In this world, we can affirm each other's resolve to do right together.
And what world are you confident in your worth?
In this world, we can affirm that each of us is enough.
And what world do faith and beliefs guide your choices?
Together, we can build this world.
In what world can you learn from those with less power? In what world should empathy shield you from judging others? In what world will your power plant roots and tend to branches and leaves? Together, we can build that world. Go in love, go in joy, go in peace.
Thank you for being with us today. After service, we invite you all to the fireside area for coffee and conversation. Families with children in RE may join the mid-year check-in and lunch in Fellowship Hall. Children are provided, childcare is provided. On Thursday this week, the Science and Spirituality group meets here at 11:30 in Fellowship Hall. On Friday, everyone is invited to join Kim and Christian Force in Fellowship Hall for a love sing-along. Clearwater Coffee House comes to our sanctuary this Saturday evening, and Sunday newcomers may join a special conversation just for them after worship, and our weekly e-communitarian and our e-newsletter offer details for these and more opportunities to connect and nurture this community that is so dear to all of us.
It has been a gift to be together today. After our closing song, please spend a few minutes talking with someone you don't know. Escort each other to coffee hour and other events, and may we all know the blessings of friendship. But first, I invite you to rise again in body and spirit. We're going to reprise Come and Go With Me, but this time, when we sing There'll Be, I want you to shout out what you think will be in that land. It's not just justice and peace and freedom. Let us rise. We'll start with Come and Go With Me, and we'll go to the shout out verses. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm born. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. There'll be in that land, there'll be in that land, there'll be in that land where I'm born. There'll be in that land, there'll be in that land, there'll be in that land where I'm bound. Let's do that one more time. There's more. There'll be in that land. There'll be in that land. There'll be in that land where I'm bound. Where I'm bound. There'll be in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be colors in that land where I'm bound. All right, come and go with me. Come and go